top 10 weirdest items that we have found in estate sales.
Okay, so we're going to start with number 10. And the 10th weirdest item that we have found in an estate sale is a coffee table with a bullet hole in it.
Now, what makes that weird is the reason it has a bullet hole in it.
Okay, so we can't go into details a whole lot just because of the nature of our business, but someone decided to...
In themselves.
Or in their life, yeah, sadly. But we didn't really know that going into the sale. So we walk into the house and there is literally a coffee table with a bullet hole in it, and among other things, we're not going to go into details on that either. So that made that pretty weird. Okay, so let's go to number 9. The 9th weirdest thing that we have found at an estate sale is a kicked-in front door. And so it was kind of weird. It was a double door, like a big French door for the front. Well, I guess it was like a door, and it had the 2 glass panels on the side. All of it was completely caved in. Evidently, the person that had passed away that we're doing the sale for was doing some stuff that he wasn't supposed to be doing, and the local sheriff came in and kicked in his front door. So, okay, so number 8.
Number 8 is hidden rooms in attics.
Okay, so there's actually 2 of these.
There's actually 3.
Is there 3?
There's 3.
Oh hell, you're holding out on me.
Yeah. Number one of those was a room in the attic that had a cot in it. Come to find out, that was their deer blind. It was AC'd and heated, and they would hunt deer out of the room in the attic.
Yeah, I remember that. So me and our daughter went in there, Zoe, we went into the attic, and we noticed there was a finished kind of a floorway that went through the attic, and you kind of go up over the AC unit, and it was still finished. There was this little bitty half door over there, and we walked into it, and it was a room. I mean, it wasn't real big. It was the size of kind of a walk-in closet. You know, it wasn't real big, and there was a window there. And so I got kind of curious when the family came over next. I said, "So what'd your dad have going on in that room up in the attic?" And they said, "Oh, that was his built-in deer blind, and he had a feeder set out next to the house, and he would sit up there and I
Get
guess
his deer.
shoot deer every year with AC and heat, which must be nice." So, okay, so the second least weirdest of the attic stories is we were doing an estate sale where we had to take stuff from multiple locations and move them on to another location, but all for the same family. And normally we go into the attics because we can find some cool stuff, you know, in the attics. Normally not. It's just junk or old Christmas stuff and rat crap that no one wants.
Old Christmas is good stuff.
Yes, it can be for sure. Yeah, and we decided to go in the attic as about the time we were done at one of the houses, and we walk up there, and there's this it was a huge finished attic, and it was a train set, like an old Lionel train set, and it had the city and the train tracks. The trains were not there, but the train tracks were there, and it was massive. It was on plywood, and I would say it was probably a few
4x6.
No, it was bigger than that. I mean the room itself.
Yeah.
It was a few hundred square feet, and a lot of it was taken up with the plywood. And so I called the family and said, "Did y'all know that was up there?" And they're like, "No, but get it down." Well, there's no way we could have got that down. It would have taken us days to disconnect all that stuff just to bring it down. So, okay. So of number 8, the weirdest attic experience we've ever had. This one's out there. It's weird. So we went into an attic, you know, at the end of an estate. So we normally go in before, but we forgot. So we went in, and there was a bunch of plywood leaning up around an area. I don't even know how to explain it. It looked like a box, like a outside of a closet up in the attic, and it had plywood laying around it. So we were pulling the plywood down, and there was a door. So I open up the door, and I look in there, and there's green shag carpet.
A chair.
And speakers. I don't know what the heck was going on there. I have no idea. I really don't want to know. That was just out there and
Maybe
weird.
that's where somebody would go trip acid, sit up there and put on music and just...
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. You know, you can let the imagination run wild on what that probably was, but I just don't think it was up to no good. It just didn't look like it was there for entertainment.
No.
How about that? So.
All right. So number 7 Number 7 is probably the weirdest and one of the saddest things we've ever found in an estate sale. 2 small dogs living in a garage full of trash, feces. They come in and just throw a bag of food in there and left them.
Yeah, so it was. This one was really sad. We were. I don't. Did we even know the dogs were there? Not when we looked at it. We didn't. I don't think so. But we started on the cell and we go out to the garage, which supposedly had a bunch of good tools, and it did have a bunch of good tools in it. But I go out there and it was just, I would say, waist high with trash. It was just nasty. And there was 2 dogs. There was a wiener dog and a Shih Tzu.
They were elderly dogs.
Elderly dogs,
They were
yeah.
elderly dogs.
And you could tell what the family did is they would take 10, 20, 30 pound bag of dog food and they would throw it out there and cut it open and it would just leave the dogs there.
Yeah.
Now they did have access to outside, but the yard was 10 foot by 10 foot max, and that was it. And it was fenced in right out the back door of the garage. So essentially that's how those dogs lived. We ended up bringing them home and rehoming them, and we're not gonna put up with that. We've rehomed a lot of animals from estate sales, but that one was just.
Because that's not the only one we've had animals in that we've had to rehome.
But that was the only
saddest
neglected animals that we had. Normally the family's like, hey, mom and dad died. We can't have the dogs, which I don't understand that at all. If your parents pass away or your grandparents or your family does, rehome the dogs. Find them a good home. It's real easy nowadays to go on social media and just find them a good home. Yeah. But don't let them sit through a grimy garage and live in filth and trash, forever. Yeah. So, okay.
All right. Number 6.
Okay, so this one is loaded gun inside a sock under a couch cushion. So we were doing an estate sale. We had a lady that was known to have some guns. We had found, I think, one of the guns initially. And so a friend of mine came over to kind of appraise some of the stuff that we had at the estate sale. And he goes, I came over here a couple years ago and she had some guns she wanted to sell me. And he goes, did y'all look like under the couch, under the beds, anything like that? And I said, well, not yet, because we'd only worked on it.
We had moved the couch, but then he goes, nope. Under this cushion, he reaches under the cushion where he's sitting and pulls out a sock and goes, right here.
It was a loaded 380, I think it was.
Yeah,
a little
it was
pistol.
380.
So, I'm glad some family didn't buy that
or
gun.
Or some kid at the stake sale digging and stuff
Oh, my goodness. That would have been terrible. So, okay. So, number 5
is a sex swing hanging in the master bedroom.
It wasn't like some cheap Temu type of crap. Like, this was the real deal.
No, they had it anchored into a stud in the attic.
It was like industrial strength, right? So I don't know. We took it down. Obviously, we don't want it for the sale. We can't sell. We can sell stuff like that, but we don't want to sell stuff like that.
That needs to go to the trash. That's a one-person use. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't buy used sex swings.
Yeah, sharing is caring, right?
No.
Yeah, no, not with those. So.
Number 4, human remains or cremains. We've always found pet cremains, but at one sale we did find some human cremains.
And you mean ashes?
Yes.
For people like me that don't know what cremains are. So I only know it because it says human ashes up there on the list. So this is another one. We were doing a sale and there was
a huge English roast china set.
Mm-hmm. And we were going through all the china and we were cleaning it, getting it all set up, displaying it, getting it ready for the sale. And there was this big cookie jar. And I don't know why I looked in it. I decided to look in it. Luckily I did. And it wasn't a family that bought it. And there was ashes in there, human ashes.
Yeah, well, ashes. And then you ask the person about it. And she's like, oh, that's just my husband. Well, he bought me all this china set. He loved this china set. And when I found out how much urns were for remains, she's like, nope, he can reside in his cookie jar that he liked.
Yeah, that was... I don't know. That's not the first time we found human ashes, but that's the first time we found remnants of them. It wasn't full,
No.
but there was enough to make you kind of feel uncomfortable. And then we asked her, "What do you want us to do with them?" She goes, "I'll just wash them
Wash them
down
down
the
the
drain."
sink.
Yeah.
Because she had already scattered most of them. So
Yeah. Well, she missed some for
Yeah,
sure.
well, that
So,
happens.
Okay.
Number 3.
All right. So number 3 is trash bags full of marijuana. So this is another one. We were doing a sale out in the boonies, kind of a country small farm estate sale, and there was in one of the back bedrooms
In the closet.
there was 3 or 4 good-sized trash bags of dried marijuana. Now they were
Old.
probably 20 plus years old, it maybe 10 plus years old. I don't know the dates on them, but
Way before it was legalized in states.
definitely before it was legalized in Oklahoma, for sure. So, but anyways, we found them. They ended up, getting taken to the dump and destroyed like they should have been. But that was kind of a weird one. So, okay. So number
Number
2,
two.
I'm gonna let her talk about this one.
You found it. You get to talk about it.
You get to say what it is.
A glass self-pleasuring tool?
It was we'll probably have to beep this out, but it was a glass, and I mean a big glass. And so me and my dad were kind of digging through one of the bedrooms of this estate, and it's not uncommon to find, toys. But this one was pretty good size. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It was pretty it was pretty much out there. But and my dad pulls it out and he's just waving it around. Look at this! Look at this! He likes to have fun. When we work on these cells, and it was definitely up there and weird. So and we did not tell the family that we found it, and we did not sell it. I don't think anyone wants to buy a secondhand.
No.
I mean,
Like back to the swing. You don't buy those types of things secondhand.
exactly. So, okay, so number one,
one.
gotta do a drum roll.
Number 1.
Okay, so this was by far the weirdest, and this isn't the first time we'd found one of these, but the first time we had came across one of these at an estate sale. It was
The human skull.
yes, a human skull, and I don't mean fake. This was the real deal. The person that we did the estate sale for. Okay, so late husband was in World War II.
Yeah, World War II, stationed over in Italy.
Yeah, over in Europe somewhere, and I don't know the details on it. It's just kind of what we learned from photos and hearing from her great niece or niece. Yeah, it don't matter. Anyways, so one of the family members, she kind of explained some of the things, and so when they would do bombing runs over in Europe, they would go in, and he was on one of the units that would look for casualties, look for people remains, people,
yeah.
People that are surrendering, things like that, and they would survey the damage. And one of the buildings they had bombed was an old dentist office, and in it was a medical specimen.
And he found it in a glass cabinet in there, a human skull.
Yeah, it was a human skull. So he had this great idea to
He wired it to the grill of his Jeep that he drove around during the war.
Yeah, and he drove it around for a couple of years.
There's pictures of him driving that Jeep around, standing in front of that Jeep with that skull, and you could tell it was the same skull strapped to the grill of that Jeep.
Definitely was. Yeah, well, and it also said the town he was
Yeah.
from on the front of the Jeep, and we, like I said, we had all the photos for this stuff. So that was weird. And what we ended up doing with that, some things we can't sell, some things we can. Human skulls we can I don't know about human remains per se, but the skull, we sold it to
An oddity shop.
Yeah, an oddity shop in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I started looking online of oddity shops. There was a few that we had called, and they kind of gave me lowball offers. And I'm like, it's a human skull. Like, you don't come across those every day.
I worked in a place when I was younger that sold these types of things, so I know the value in these.
Oh yeah, they're obviously not cheap because you can't just
it's
pop your skull off and sell it. So
here in the United States where we live, you cannot sell United States citizen remains, you can't. It's
Yeah.
against the law.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so we sold it to them. They paid good money for it, and yep. So that's it. That is our top 10 list.
of the weirdest
Just items.
things we have found during an estate sale. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Hey everybody, we're here for a top 10 list of the weirdest items that we have ever found at estate sales.
Okay, now look at the camera.
Look
Now-
at the camera.
Yeah, look at the camera.
Don't look at you. Just no, that's not good either. Okay, so we're gonna start with. We'll do a deuce first.
You gonna go? Go.
Go, 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 go. Oh my god, I can't even look at the camera when I laugh.